So anyway, I'm here with my girlfriend.
Hello, that's me.
She wrote down some notes because.
I have a terrible memory.
So for context, I've been watching this show since I was a wee little fetus, like 8 years old.
And for context, he introduced me when we started dating. So my first introduction with the series was Crystallize, which is everyone's favorite season.
Anywho,
You're taking fat rips of the pen in my eyesight. For bad.
all right.
Okay.
So let's start on the pilot seasons. So, what do you like about the pilots?
I like that Jay is from New York. I love that his first reaction to Kai's sister being kidnapped is, "So we're saving a girl.
Is she hot?
Is she hot? Can I have her number? I love her."
Oh yeah, we got racist Woo.
I don't love racist Woo.
I do think it did a really good job in setting up the rest of the show. It did have its moments. The first tornado of creation scene was pretty nutty to me as a child, but watching it now compared to all the other seasons, it's not really all that impressive in terms of story and plot and character development.
Probably a C.
So I'm gonna sauce this in the C tier for now. Crucify me in the comments if you want. I really don't care.
Is that a controversial opinion?
I don't know. Season 1. Few good things about this season. I think that TikTok is one of the strongest episodes in the entire series. We also find out that Lloyd is the Green Ninja, and we also get introduced to the bratty little twat in the first episode.
I like that every character goes through their true potentials. It seemed like a good way to set up the characters, because you don't really know them yet. You don't know their story, so they each have a moment to shine. Of course, Garmadon, Great Devourer, full circle moment where he defeats it at the end.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna throw season 1 in a nice little B tier. It's good, not bad. But in terms of the rest of the series, it's not the strongest entry, but it's definitely not the worst. Now we move on to season 2.
I'm sick of the snakes at this point. I wish they would leave.
Yeah, the first I don't even know how many episodes are pretty filler. The episode where they go to the school with the evil ninja, it's entertaining, but it's not really series finale worthy. Some of the episodes at the beginning, especially since this season was meant to originally be the end of the series.
There's also Lloyd's terrible mother being introduced, and I don't care about her excuses. I feel like she could have raised a child while researching. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion, but
not to mention she dropped her child off at a school for bad boys, and then she's like, yeah, I totally expected him to be the Green Ninja after dropping him off at a school for basically fucking little terrorist Timmies.
or at the very least, she left him with Garmadon, which is, well, no, he was dead. Garmadon was dead, so why would Misako drop him off at a school for bad boys?
Beats me. Anyway, few good episodes. Temple of Light was pretty good when they got their elemental blades and got all their new powers. The finale, of course, iconic.
The Golden Ninja, iconic.
Overlord, pretty one-dimensional, pretty boring. Like, I get it, he's the embodiment of evil and all that, but
I feel like he could be a little bit more evil.
I feel like his 1,000-year plan wasn't that great because he failed.
I also feel like I know there's a tonal change between the earlier seasons. They're more kiddie, but we see a lot more convincing villains in later seasons. And coming into this, watching as an adult, as fully 19 years old, the first probably 3 seasons are pretty kiddie.
I'd agree with that because there's only like, I want to say 2 or 3 really strong episodes in the season, and they're all towards the end. But other than that, not really much that I have to say about that season. Next up, Season 3.
The beginning I already don't like. Why are these teenagers teaching classes?
Let's get the elephant out of the room here. Love triangle, worst thing to happen. Horrible, physically cringe to watch.
There's no reason for Cole to be going after Nia like that. From the pilots, Jay has had his eyes on Nia.
It's almost like they brought that perfect match game into the season, and Nia found out that Cole was her supposed perfect match, and then without Cole knowing any of this, he's like, I'm gonna go fuck her.
Really? And he knows his best friend's into her. It was terrible plot point. We all know that. I don't like carrying over the same villain, especially when the villain in the first place was underwhelming at the best.
I do think the Ninjroids were okay. The only one that had like a little bit of personality was Mindroid, but even then he didn't really speak or anything. I feel like General Cryptor was like copy and paste traditional bad guy.
And then there's Ninja in Space, which honestly, crucify me, I didn't mind. I was entertained. But I could see how the concept is very silly. Because it is very silly.
I agree. And I know that the whole plot point of the Golden Weapons in Space, a lot of people don't like, because a lot of people don't like Wrong Place, Wrong Time from Season 2. Personally, I don't mind that episode. And
I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I don't really mind the whole plot of the Weapons in Space, even if it was a little goofy. Then we get into the finale. Zane's sacrifice. I feel like alone that bumps it up from C to B tier, because that is easily for me one of the best episodes of the show.
I wish I was there to see it as like a kid. That probably would have destroyed me. And then also in this season, we get introduced to my favorite couple. So, Pixel and Zane forever. For real.
For sure. Now we move on to the first strong entry in the series, Season 4.
They resolved the love triangle. They resolved it.
Immediate S tier. Immediate. Got Master Chen. Pretty goofy, pretty silly, pretty good villain. Really like him. Elemental Masters, especially Skylar. They definitely had a missed opportunity after Season 4 to use her a lot more, but we'll get to that when the time comes.
One of my favorite episodes is, I don't know the name of it, but it's the roller rink episode. So good. Such a good episode.
Yep. The music, the action, the characters in that episode.
Even the plot, they kind of resolve this, there's a lingering where the ninja know that Chen's up to evil, but no one else cares to know that Chen's up to evil. And that's the episode where they kind of rally together.
Some other notable episodes were the one where I think it's called Day of the Dragon, where they get their elemental dragons. And Zane learns he can do his, and Kai learns how he can do his. And I like how they're both like very separate scenarios, which allowed them to discover that they can do this. And I do kind of wish that they did a little bit more for the rest of the characters. I do understand it'd be a bit hard to do like a fully fledged story of how every single elemental master got their dragon, but I mean at least the 5 ninja.
And we do get in a they allude to it. They say like it's been so long when they're trying to go get Chen when he's doing his evil plan in Ninjago. They were like, well, it takes a while for everyone to learn how to conquer their fear and create a elemental dragon. It takes a while, and we don't leave anybody behind. So they allude to other people maybe having problems with it. And then, of course, the finale. Garmadon's sacrifice.
Yep, and then the end of that finale introduced us to one of the best villains that the show has ever seen. Mr. Moro in Season 5. Better than Season 4, so that's already going in S tier. And some notable moments that stood out for me, anyway, is introduction to Ronin. I know he was introduced in the Shadow of Ronin video game, which I haven't played, so I had no prior knowledge of the character until Season 5. Cole turned into a ghost. Nia true potential. Just a bunch of very heavy, good moments in this season. It also has, I think, one of the best opening episodes of the entire show.
And then for the bads, I think everyone will agree, Cloud Kingdom. Boo! We hate
Boo!
Cloud
Fuck
Kingdom!
that shit!
Boo!
Fuck Cloud Kingdom. Fuck you. Can't write.
I feel like they kind of shoved a water fear to Kai that doesn't appear anywhere else. I don't know why they did that for the plot prob.
Giving Kai a fear of water when Cole can't even touch the water. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and then they focus on Kai the entire season. Cole's like, I can't touch the water or I'm gonna die, guys. Can someone care about that? Who cares? Kai is so scared right now. He's so scared. You guys don't even understand how scared Kai is.
He's fucking terrified.
Regardless, still an S tier season.
S tier. Then we go to the third S tier season in a row. Season 6. I'm gonna put it there for now, but by the time we're done talking about it, it might be above or below 5 or 4.
Now, in my opinion, this is better than 4 and 5. I love this season. Nauticon is such a good villain. The first couple episodes kind of suck. Not gonna lie. I don't like the sexist Dareth plot. It's a little odd, and it feels very shoved in your face, and I understand they're doing that to set up, Nia in the future and her struggles and stuff, but it's everywhere. It's all that the first couple episodes of this season are.
Yep, and then when it picks up with Nauticon and his main crew, all really good characters. Clancy, Dogshank, Doubloon, Flintlock. Some of the best, I want to say, like, villain sidekicks that we've seen so far.
Yeah, up until this point, villain sidekicks, we had Klaus and 4. Moro, he had his little ragtag game, but they're not really notable, but each person had their own personality, story. They came out with the stuff on the YouTube, which is great, that tells their origin that I loved.
Finale, of course, Jay's wish, Nia dying. All very emotional. Very good.
I cried. I cry a lot, but I cried.
I know some people didn't like that the whole season was pretty much erased, but I don't mind it. I don't think I would have liked the show the same if they didn't like reverse what happened. I feel like it would have been kind of weird to get used to. Nia dead, old Lloyd.
Everything definitely needed to be reversed. That's for sure. I do kind of like the idea that it's just a thing between Nia and Jay. I kind of like that. It's kind of romantic in a way. That's really where they start off their relationship after Nia pretending like she doesn't like him for forever.
Now I feel like this is where this tier list gets a little bit controversial. Day of the Departed.
I don't mind it. I don't dislike it at all.
I always liked it when I was younger. I don't know if that's why I still like it. It obviously has its flaws. The pacing obviously isn't very good, but there were some very good things to come out of it.
I would also say I didn't watch this as a kid, and maybe I'm easily entertained, but I enjoyed it. We get rid of Ghost Cole, which is wonderful. There's only so long that you can do those kind of bits, There's only so long you can do that before it starts to get a little boring, and we get Cole's character with the scar, and I love the scar. It hands down makes him. It's part of one of our favorite minifigs, from the Lego sets. So it looks so good.
It was also very nice to see Moro again. Samakai, Pythor came back, of course.
Pythor's not dead, but he's here and he's ready.
Pythor just strolled on in. He's like, "All right, we killing people, cool.
I'm in. Let's go." So. Honestly, I'd give it a B. I enjoyed it.
I'm agree with that. Honestly, I think it belongs in B, at least in my mind. Feel free to disagree. I don't really care.
These are opinions about what appears to be a Lego kids show. I'll argue that it's not a kids show in the trilogy, but it's opinions about a show. Come on. Who cares?
Anyway, Hands of Time. Not my favorite.
Boo! D!
D tier. However, there was some things that I liked about it. The opening episode with Wu fighting Acronix in the monastery, very good. Liked it a lot. The whole plot point of him getting older from the time punch, I also liked.
I like the intro to Kai and Nia's parents, and I like how on brand it is for Kai to just start punching without asking any questions.
Oh, hey, it's my dad. Let's murder. No questions.
Kill him.
Kill him. He's a whore.
I will say, though, I'm so fucking sick and tired of snakes at this point. I was sick and tired of snakes in season 2. I'm so done with them.
I am glad that they kind of did something original with the snakes, though, instead of them just being more another serpentine tribe that no one knew about. They were like great devourer eggs, I think.
Yeah. The Vermilion, I like that they did something different, but also I'm sick of the snakes, get a new idea. And also the Vermilion were not great sidekicks. To go from season 6 where you get Clancy, you get Dogshank, to this, these are the sidekicks we're getting. They're stupid, they're dumb, they're bad.
And really the last thing I have to say about it that's positive is the finale. I did like the finale. I do believe that it was supposed to continue originally into season 8, but then I think the movie happened before, and then they ended up changing the plot of season 8. And I'm glad they did.
This is where I start to get excited. I don't even remember pilots 1, 2, and 3. I had to watch a recap. This is when I start really enjoying the show.
Easily one of the best seasons, objectively and subjectively. Controversial. I like the redesigns, I think, better.
Oh, definitely. I think the only person that suffered from the redesigns is Jay.
Yep, Lloyd's redesign is better. Kai looks better, in my opinion. Not in minifigure form. His hair is way too tall, but in the show.
Nia looks grown up now, which makes sense. She was a lot younger than everybody else, so it's nice to see her finally grow.
Harumi, very good. Never saw that coming my first watch.
I don't know if it's controversial at this point, but I think Harumi is a very good villain. At this point in time, that changes.
I think she did a very good job seducing Lloyd here. He was fooled. We also got Pixel back in her body with Samurai X.
Which is wonderful. I love Pixel. And it's nice to solve the mystery of who was Samurai X all this time. We get introduced to, well, not introduced, but Mistake actually becomes part of the series, not just like a side character like the mailman.
Yep, Mistake, she did the story of Oni and Dragon, which I think is one of the best directions that the show took in terms of lore and story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The lore that this season adds to the entire story really just, it ups the game. It ups the ante. And then, of course, Garmadon. I mean, he kind of he goes from this man that would do anything to save his son, despite being evil, to just a total monster. And it's so, like, heartbreaking to watch. It's so wonderful to watch. This is when the series takes a more, I wouldn't say adult, but maybe more teenager spin, a little bit more dark, less kiddie.
I do agree with that, especially with, like, some of the plot twists were just, I don't know what word to use. Like I didn't see them coming like I did in some of the other seasons. Like, the whole Snake Jaguar thing, I did not expect Zane to save Mr. E. I did not expect that to be his plan.
And then the scene where Mr. E is just whomping on him real hard. Are you kidding me? It's so good.
So good. Easily S tier. S plus tier, but the tier list I have here only goes up to S, so.
We'll put it up at the front.
Okay, so it just gets better from here.
I mean, that goes in front of Sons of Garmadon in my mind.
Hunted, my favorite season. There's just so much to say about this season. I think the pacing was very good, how they handled the two entirely different storylines.
The introduction to, what's his name? The main villain.
Iron Baron.
Yes. The introduction to Iron Baron where he's sitting on the Ultra Dragon's throne that's a very good introduction to a villain. You already out the gate fucking hate this guy. They allude to it in the show. They don't make it really that big of a deal, but Kai's like, I already hate him. And I didn't realize on my first watch why he was saying that. Listen, man, I'm a crier. I got a little sad. I got a little tears.
Some of this, like, the first scene where they show the dragon hunters hunting dragons, pretty dark, pretty brutal.
The music on the Wind Dragon is haunting.
Faith, heavy metal, very good character, liked her a lot.
The flashbacks that Wu gets while growing up, love them. I love seeing more of the first Spinjitzu Master. It's not someone you really see much.
Mistake being an Oni. I actually recently found out that Mistake was one of the Oni warlords.
For the Ninjago side of things, the Elemental Masters, Skylar is so overpowered in this season, and I don't mind it, because she was always kind of overpowered. But she is insane in Hunted.
I do like how they also gave her limits. They did it much better in Hunted than they did in Crystallized, but we'll get to that later. Like, when she took Garmadon's power, it was very much so too much for her to handle. They didn't really make her seem weak, because she was fighting him off for a while. And in that scene as well, Harumi died.
They rode the line on her very well, I think. And easily, best finale. Easily.
The whole thing of the rift opening up when everything seems hopeless, and in comes these massive dragons. They land, they're all beat up, torn clothes. It's just crazy, especially when you can imagine how much time had passed between the end of Sons of Garmadon and the beginning of Hunted, because I think in the first episode of Hunted, Darius had already been a week.
Yeah, they were fending off for a long time, and of course, it's so full circle. I love it so much. Wu fighting his dad with a lesson that he got taught in, what would it have been, season 3? When they open the school, where Garmadon teaches him to fight without fighting. And for that to come back and be the way that he ends up defeating his father, what a full circle moment. I don't know if they thought about that. They probably did, but it just felt so fulfilling. It felt like it had come to a close.
It also brought into fruition the entire meaning behind the resistance, because the whole time they were resisting him, and that's exactly how he defeated him, just simply by resisting.
Very good season. S+.
Easily. And then we got the third entry in the trilogy, the weakest but by no means the worst season. Only 4 episodes. Not that much to break down, but a lot of good moments.
Yeah. The Cole falling, very emotional moment. Even if I know at this point that no one really ever dies in Ninjago, it doesn't matter. This is where we get kind of introduced to Garmadon's humanity after the fucking terror and horror that he wreaked on Ninjago during season 8 and 9.
The scenes when he's looking at the pictures, and when you get introduced to the best character of the series, Vinny of NGTV News. I know it's meant to be a little bit silly that he's calling him Vinny of NGTV News, but at the same time, it's very, very heartfelt, very, very real, very heavy, especially for Garmadon. You can kind of see him kind of like fighting with his own emotions. He's obviously only the Oni part was brought back.
And despite his Oni side only being brought back, I mean, this isn't the first example we have of good Oni. There may not be many of them, but Mistake is immediate example from just 1 season ago. She was full-blooded Oni. In fact, one of the Onis that followed the first Spinjitzu Master to his new land Ninjago, and was able to fall in love with the planet and fall in love with everything that he had done. So it's not impossible, like how he seems to think it is. We also have Kai forging the golden weapons immediately after saying he's a terrible blacksmith, and then doing it perfectly, 1-to-1 recreation.
Yep. The finale with the first Spinjitzu Master, very cool. another fake out death here with Lloyd. I don't think it was as poorly done as some of the other fake out deaths that we've gotten throughout the show.
I would argue that it's not even a fake out death. He did die. He had the choice to come back or to stay with the first Ninjutsu master and find out the secrets, and he wanted to go back to his friends. A very good ending. I love seeing the first Ninjutsu master, just in general. I will say one thing about this season that always gets me is Garmadon's Oni form is very bad looking. It's very goofy looking. I'm very happy that they fixed that for crystallized, even though, I have my problems with crystallized.
So I'm going to chuck this in A tier.
Definitely A.
I do think it's stronger than the 3 that we have in B tier so far, but it also doesn't come close to even like the lowest of the S tier.
Agreed. And my favorite season is coming up, guys. Season that I love. So let's put it straight into D.
So we actually got the fire chapter and ice chapter separated here.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Fire chapter, F.
Easy.
Easy F.
Boo.
I'm not one to like hate on the anime episodes, but I will hate on these specific anime episodes because they were just not good, pointless, super fillery.
Yep, and honestly, I don't have much to say about the fire chapter. I don't like Asphira as a villain. She's repetitive.
Revenge!
Her story doesn't really even make any sense either, because the entire time she's talking about a treacherous deceiver when Wu taught her spinjitzu and said, don't do anything naughty with it. Don't do anything evil. Stop that. And then she does something evil and he locks her up and she's like, well, that's not fair. You deceived me. How did she... The amount of, like, hurdles she's jumping in her head to make that make sense.
Yeah, it seemed kind of forced. The pacing wasn't really good. The beginning of them being lazy was just another reused plot point for season 1.
I do like Wu being very sick and beating them. I do dislike, like, it appeals to a much younger audience, I would say.
They kind of did a 180 on that with the fire chapter. Very much so a more serious tone in this chapter. Still had a bunch of filler episodes. The finale kind of fell flat. I don't think Zane definitely didn't get his memories back how I wanted him to, or how anyone wanted him to. Which
is evidenced by the earlier videos on this channel.
I think they built up for more of a bigger finale, and they didn't stick the landing. So I'm gonna keep the ice chapter at a low C tier.
I might even put it in D, but it can stay in C. I will say, it's very silly that Zane got sent back in time, has been terrorizing these people for years, torn apart families, destroyed villages, and all is forgiven in the end. He does not face any consequences.
He gets his memory back. He's like, hey guys, what happened?
And everyone, you'd think that the people in the villages would hold a little bit of a grudge, but they don't. They're like, happy you found your friend. Bye.
You'd think he'd have some sort of, like, trauma from that.
Yeah, I understand that Vex was the one who facilitated all of it, but Vex doesn't have any power. Zane is the one that did everything.
So, anyway, not much good to say about that season. Didn't mind Akita. She was alright. By no means, like, any better than Harumi in terms of, like, character.
No, at this point, I like Harumi better than I like Takeda, but all changes.
Season 12. Couple good things. Okino. Do like the overall vibe of the season, although it is kind of similar to Season 3 in terms of, like, video game, Digiverse type stuff.
We're back online. I like the Detective Zane and Pixel episodes. I like those very much.
S tier episode.
They're so funny. I love them. I will say with the redesign, Jay has been destroyed and will continue being destroyed as a character. So that's something I always have an issue with. More so in this season than in other seasons because he's the main character. It's his season. He's the one to beat the villain.
Lloyd versus Harumi was one of the best episodes of the season, but I do think it should get some points taken off because Lloyd is a gullible little bitch.
He was gullible in season 5 with Moro, which almost made more sense. But he went through the redesign. He seems more adult, more grown up, and then he falls for the same traps. Like, you know Harumi is dead.
The whole Harumi and Prime Empire thing for like a boss fight. I feel like he kind of should have known, but he really didn't.
But if there's one thing about Lloyd, he gonna be gullible. That's him.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say B.
I'd say B too. The finale was nothing special.
The finale was fucking weird. Unagami's a kid now, and we just get to forget about everything he's done. And I will also say the plot point where Milton Dyer's like, he's just a machine, you're just a machine, when they're very obviously experiencing emotions in front of them, got a little wearing at a certain point. I understand he comes to his senses, but for how long do they have to tell you that they feel things for you to believe that they feel things?
Next we got season 13, Master of the Mountain.
S+ season. I love this season very much so. We watched this season on shrooms. Very good season.
Cole, very much so, got the spotlight he deserved.
Finally, Cole gets a season. God damn.
The geckos and the months, very good. I like them a lot. I like how their personalities and how they acted were very like opposite of each other.
The months are very simple. The geckos are also very simple, but they think they're regal. The one thing I don't like with this season, the one plot point I'm like, come on, Woo is such a bitch in this season, and for what? I understand, they went on all these adventures, but in the beginning of season 11, he kicks all their asses, and by season 13, he's a bitch.
That is a plot point that I didn't really like all that much. The whole thing with Vangelis as a skull sorcerer, pretty cool. Definitely saw it coming though.
But he is a very good villain. Some of the music on this season 2 goes so hard for no reason. I'm scared. It's scary music.
And when you're first introduced to the skull sorcerer, and Cole's taking down all the skeletons, and then he comes out and he's like shit about the wrath of the skull sorcerer, and the fucking music kicks up, and he speaks in a different language, reawakens all the skeletons, and he just kind of converges them on Cole. It was good. It was a very good scene.
Very good villain. He and this is also, we get introduced to all the venge stone that he's collecting, which will come up later. I like that they planted seeds for that earlier. His motivations make sense, he's not a villain for no reason. He has motivations. They're awful and evil, but he has them. Mm-hmm. Vanya's a wonderful character.
The lowly, I like them a lot. The Temple of Earth that they found inside the mountain, along with finally giving some lore and some story on Cole's mother.
Finally, even Cole's father, we only really saw him in season 1 is where we really got any lore about Cole's family. So for them to go from season 1 to season 13 without really fleshing him out as a character was kind of crazy. So it was so well deserved when he got his own season, and especially how good it is. That finale, almost every time it gives me chills, where he goes to the flashback to his mom and she says to stand up to those who are cruel and unjust. And he's like, I made a promise to my mom and I'm keeping it. And he fucking kicks his ass. It's such a good finale.
I agree. One of my favorites. And then we move on to not one of my favorites, and our second D tier of the list, The Island.
I don't have much to say about it, to be honest.
The suits were good, and I liked the animation. It was pretty good. Oh man, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about it.
That's about it. Season, Seabound. Skip right over The Island because it was kind of trash. It was just lead up for Seabound. That's all it was.
Seabound did have his moments. Really liked Kalmar. Bro killed his father in front of them.
Which is pretty evil for the villains that we've seen. We have Garmadon trying to kill his son, and now we have Kalmar killing his father.
One of, if not the first, on-screen death of the entire series.
And then we're introduced to Benthelmar, who is a very good character. I really enjoy him. I like that they gave him a backstory you can sympathize with. I love how throughout, Kalmar's evil plan, Benthelmar has always been there trying to be his friend, and he gets very easily taken advantage of, to find the Temple of Wojira, which makes sense for his character. He's just a kind of guy.
The whole finale with Jay getting the water in his lungs and Nia literally sacrificing everything just to save Jay and her friends.
I cry every single time. Every time. It is so sad. And Nia saying to Jay, like, I finally understand what what my mom meant. Like, she's finally forgiving her mom for leaving her when she was young. And she's like, I understand what she meant now. Sometimes that's just how it works. That's how the cookie crumbles. And then the funeral. Oh, I mean, so sad. That season, the end makes me so sad. Some of the gripes I have with it, the newsman, the Paperboy episodes, I'm not a fan of them in any season, to be honest.
Very controversial, but don't really like Nelson.
Is that a controversial opinion? I'm just not a big fan of them. For other parts of the season, I mean, I don't really have too much bad to say. There are some really good gems, like them scuba diving and Pixel. I think it's Pixel. Someone's like, Zane, why are you wearing a suit? And he's like, it looks good.
Yeah, it's like, I like how it completes my attire.
So I'd give it an A. I think the finale carries it a lot, though, because of how emotional it is.
And now we go to arguably the best season, Crystallized. Not many good things to say about this one.
I will say, I think I hate it less than everyone else hates it. Because people seem to despise this season. I'm not saying I like it, guys. Don't crucify me. It's not great. The writing's pretty bad. The amount of reoccurring plot lines that happen in this season make me want to go mad. But I was entertained. Maybe I have some rose-colored glasses because this is the season I was introduced. And I'm pretty sure I was introduced to the second half of the season, too, so...
The beginning episode is just reused season 4, where they separate and then they come back together again.
Because of a death, which you'd think they learned from season 4, you know? But no, the Zane turning off his emotions when in season 1, he was like, I would want my memory for everything. Like, my memory is important to me. I don't want to not to remember. I want to have these memories, and then for him to just turn off his emotions feels kind of... I know they're not exactly the same, but it just doesn't feel right.
Bringing Harumi back kind of fell flat. I feel like if she did get brought back after Hunted, it would be almost kind of like a redemption, but she just kind of... I guess she just likes to be a slave to people.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, it almost feels like a recurring plot point, just with a different villain. She knows that he's evil. I mean, I understand it was the only way she would come back to life, but she couldn't have come back to life and be like, hey, Lloyd, hey, man, can you get this guy before he gets too powerful? She, like, did his bidding the entire way, all the way through. And she had just come to the realization in when she died that, oh my god, helping Garmadon is tearing apart families like how the Great Devourer tore apart mine. And then she comes back and forgets everything.
Garmadon, speaking of, best part of that season. He's so good.
Easily.
Garmadon's always good. Dragon form was pretty cool.
I don't like bringing back Esphira. I didn't like her in season 11. I don't like her now. They repeat a Skybound plot point too, where they all go to jail.
And I know what you're saying. It never happened. They never went to jail.
It doesn't matter. We saw it.
Yeah. Exactly.
They know about it.
Lloyd's Oni form. They built it up to be this big thing for it to last about 15 seconds.
Oh my goodness, and I hate this. Skylar gets nerfed this season for no reason. What are you telling me her powers disappear after not touching the person after a certain amount of time? And it's kind of they disappear kind of quickly because they were out doing their mission and she was already losing it. So, for her to go from handling Garmadon's power to that, come on.
Listen, if they had established it before that it kind of wore off after a while, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But here's the but. They made her this fucking powerful ass fucking bitch. She takes powers and she has them. And that's how they made it out to be.
Not only that, like, she had taken powers in season 4, in Tournament of Elements. She had taken powers from Kai in the beginning, but still had them towards the end to give to her father. So, of course, you can argue maybe she touched him again from then to now, and she probably did. But there's no reason to believe that she would lose any of these powers. Like, it's just... I don't understand why they nerfed her so hard. She was such a powerful character. And if they thought she was too powerful, then this was not the way to nerf her.
The problem is not that it was a thing. The problem is how they executed it.
Yeah, if they wanted to nerf her, but goddamn, like, give me a reason at least. Like, Oh, I don't know. After fucking hunted when she got poisoned with Garmadon's power, something happened. Give me a reason for it. Don't just do it. So many filler episodes. The Sally episode, I would say, is even filler. I'm not saying I dislike it, just that it's not really important. Fuji Dove's not a good character.
The season didn't build up to this big endgame finale that they were making it out to be. I'd argue that some of the other seasons had bigger, better finales.
And if it was supposed to be like all of their allies coming together, and that's the only way they're achieving direct. Where are the snakes? Where are they?
Scales was there and one Hypnobrai was there, but my problem is, especially in the Wild Brain era, they copy paste the same Hypnobrai every time there's a Serpentine on screen.
Which is awful, because the Venomari, I think, are my favorite design-wise, and we don't really see them anymore. Vanya comes to their aid, the Merlopians come to their aid, but I feel like there was a chance they've made a lot more friends than everyone that came to their aid, you know what I mean? So I feel like it was a chance to really make it explosive. Like, you're seeing characters you haven't seen in a long time, because it's the fate of the world at this point, and they just didn't. And they kind of ham-fisted that he's trying to corrupt the powers of creation right at the end, so it doesn't have any impact. I do still enjoy the season, despite it having many writing flaws. But then again, I do enjoy the Ice chapter as well. Honestly, they're probably around the same for me.
And then last, but certainly not least, Dragon's Rising is in a respectable A tier so far. For things I have to say about this season so far, I like Sora. Roz, very cool. Aaron's not my favorite so far, but I don't mind him.
He's a little wimpy. But they're kids, you know. They're supposed to be a little wimpy, a little dumb. They're supposed to be. I will also mention the reason we're saying right now, part 2 has not dropped. I don't know when this will come out. Part 2 has not dropped, so everything is based off of part 1, and all of this can change depending on how they take part 2.
And say what you want about Lloyd, but he owns the shit out of this season.
He does. He's very powerful. They throw in more kid jokes, more just like potty humor, like Master of Green Boogers type stuff. They throw it in, but I appreciate that it's not like a central part of the show. It's not constant. They throw it in here and there, but it has a less serious tone from season 8, but a more serious tone than a lot of the other seasons, so I can appreciate that.
I think what they're trying to do is appeal to their mature audience and their young audience at the same time. But because I've seen a bunch of people on Reddit complain about the Green Boogers thing, but you can't please everyone. You can't have a season that's too dark and then scare the shit out of kids, or have a season that's too light and drive away the mature audience.
Also, we've already established that the Cloud Kingdom is full of bullshit. So, take it as you will, you know? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but we've established that while the Cloud Kingdom can be right, they can also very much be wrong. So.
Yep. People complain about the Cloud Kingdom all the time.
Finally fixed it.
You listen to the worm. So, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. Don't, because I've seen people be like, yeah, this ruined Lloyd's whole character.
Oh, well, didn't do that.
Yeah, like, who cares? It's a joke. It's a fucking...
It's a kid show at the end of the day. They are trying to target kids, I would say. So, take everything like that with a grain of salt, and don't let it ruin your experience. The season does have some lore issues, which makes sense because the merge has changed everything, but I would like to see... I'm curious to see if they fix any, or if they tie any of those issues together. Dragons powering up elemental masters, that's something new, that's something exciting. I enjoyed that a lot.
The finale, man, with Zane and Lloyd at the bubble with the Source Dragon, and the Source Dragon uses Lloyd as his conduit, and Lloyd sees all this stuff.
That flashback scene where he sees not flashback, foreshadowing maybe, visions, there we go. That vision where he sees them all dead, that was dark, that was heavy, that was really nice to see. I really enjoyed that. And then him being out for a week and coming back, and Sora is practicing with her powers.
But yeah, hope you enjoyed. I know I've been on and off this channel for a span of like 6 years, but hopefully that comes to an end when this video comes out.
I didn't know very much about the show, but I absolutely fell in love with it, so I hope that we can help some other people fall in love with it too. Maybe people that think it's just a silly little kid show.
See all y'all silly dudes next time.